Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to The Fool and the Philosopher.
The Philosopher and The Fool.
This video brought to you by Raycon. Hey Connor, your headphones, right? They're good, aren't they? Good quality, fairly cheap, and they also never die, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Right. Well, Raycon fixes all that. Plus, you can lose them. Can you lose your headphones? No, you can't. So, Raycon, they last only 6 hours. They can last up to 24 hours with a tiny little dinky charging case you're going to lose with cheap plastic that you can cut yourself on. And they're Bluetooth, so the quality's lower. But that's okay because they're $150. Get Raycon today. This sponsored ad was brought to you by Ridge Wallet. Now, you know how a normal wallet is soft and comfortable and fits in your pocket, right? And it also, you know how it can fit everything you need inside it?
Yeah.
Well, Ridge Wallet, they can't. So you can only carry a couple cards in there, maybe your money if you fold it up carefully. Taking stuff in and out, change, forget it. It's going to be a pain. But don't worry, because it's made from carbon fiber, which can give you the worst splinters possible, basically. And it's also very hard. And you know what a normal wallet can't do that Ridge Wallet can? It can shatter. This Ridge sponsorship was brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends. Now, don't worry, our makers at Raid know their game sucks. So they've given us a code that you can enter, and it will give you free silver and a new hero, which will allow you to skip part of the game. Isn't that wonderful, Connor?
It's pretty good. It sounds like you have been dealing with something.
This brought to you by NordVPN, which, now, admittedly, VPNs are actually useful, unlike the other 3 sponsors that we have on our show today. However, you already have internet privacy. Region locking, that's more of a rights issue, although I do think it is nice to be able to avoid it, personally. But I have seen, I think it's been Nord ads recently, which have been talking about getting around regional pricing, which is great for people in the UK and Australia, but is going to have terrible repercussions. Well, it won't necessarily.
Illegal?
So's avoiding region locking. It's sort
Yeah,
of.
well, that region locking is also illegal.
Well, I don't think it's illegal. Because it's a matter of rights. Like basically, if Netflix region locks something, they don't have the rights to it in a different country. Mm-hmm. So nobody really cares. Because nobody's losing anything. It's just like a Canadian author didn't want to sell Netflix, like a Canadian TV producer didn't want to sell Netflix international rights or something. Yeah. But if someone's using a VPN, then they appear as if they're in Canada. So it's not like it's like if they took a trip to Canada and watched it in a hotel or something. Like I don't know. I don't think people care about that much. But with regional pricing, you have the issue that oftentimes the reason people do regional pricing is actually so that people in countries like Latvia or Poland or a lot of Eastern European countries and a lot of South American countries especially can actually afford the products like reasonably because it's not just a straight conversion. Like if an American makes $20 an hour and a game costs $60, that doesn't mean that a Latvian will have to work 3 hours to afford a game. They probably have to work 4 hours or 5 hours.
Yeah.
So they tend to regional pricing can be used so that people from other countries will still buy your game. So you'll say, okay, we'll make it worth 3 hours of a Latvian wage or of a Polish wage or a Canadian wage. Or now, what they also seem to do for some reason for the UK a lot of the time is they just convert the dollar price to pounds.
Yeah.
So UK gets like ridiculously expensive games, and Australia, they just seem to raise the price. I don't know what that's about. But yeah, I've
You're just tired of getting ads?
No, I'm not tired of the ads. If the ads are for something worthwhile, then that's fine. But wireless headphones, I really don't know why there's this push to have them exist.
You want an individual bud in each ear.
Like, if you watch Philip DeFranco, he talks about how they look really stylish. Yeah. There's nothing stylish about having colored ear holes. That's like those little like jewels you can get to stick over your cat's butt. Like, it's not stylish. It just looks stupid. Why are you doing this? Like headphones, I think in general look stupid. I don't think anything but. Well, I think clothing has advanced to the point where we actually have, and jewelry can look okay, depending on person and culture and time period and everything else. But even then, that's pretty, like, I think like glasses and headphones and scarves and what, like, they're all just ways to distract from what people actually like about looking at people, and I find them ugly and sort of. Like,
well, some people like them, but I mean,
I think they're wrong, because like if you like glasses, you're liking a defect. That's kind of creepy. Like you're like, oh, that guy's got a limp. Oh, which is kind of weird.
But I mean, a cane or a walking stick can look refined, and that's like limp, is it not? From that point of view.
Yeah. Well, I think most of the time when a cane is seen as refined, the person tends to be quite upright, anyways. But. Yeah, you're right. I don't think you should give much.
I mean, a wizard's hat could look good on someone, but that's a traveler's hat to keep rain off your head. So is that saying you like soggy people?
Why? I don't think there's anyone that like would be like, all right, given two identical people, the one with the giant wizard's hat is definitely the better looking one.
I don't know. Gandalf looks better with the wizard's hat on.
Plus, the thing about a cane is it doesn't obscure any part of your body, whereas a hat can obscure your hair. Glasses can obscure your eyes, which is huge, because eyes are basically the most important part of the body. And obscuring your ear holes, I mean, that's just weird. Like, I don't think people are looking there that often, but like, it is odd. And I don't know what the push towards these is, because we have wired headphones and headsets and they work just fine, and they have higher quality because you're not using Bluetooth. They're way cheaper. Like, you can get a high quality, well, you can get for basically anyone that isn't an audiophile or something, you can get like a $20 set of headphones that'll like, earbuds, whatever they're called. Like, if you want to get a good, like, actual headphones, those are going to cost more.
Yeah.
And even good
earbuds
can cost quite a bit.
Yeah.
But for basically most people,
even then, if you buy like a good $60 pair of like big over ear sort of aviator chunky things, those, if you get the right one, can basically be indestructible, have good quality, and just last you forever.
I have a friend, he's had a bad experience with stuff at that price range. He hasn't found ones that last. They tend to break. But
well, I know what the price range of the headsets I still use is, because I got them secondhand.
But he got some, I think, $300 ones that he found were very nice.
I mean, my nice ones that I got as a gift from someone else, one of the earphones shattered because it's made of bad plastic, but
yeah, you're just getting lower quality with Bluetooth, like lower quality sound, and on top of that,
you're getting Bluetooth radiation going through your brain.
I mean, yeah, who knows what that does? Like, it's probably fine, but your skull might actually stop your phone based on how you're moving.
Yeah.
Or amplify it, I guess. There's that. But
also, you have batteries in your ears.
If I'm like running, my ear things, they fall out all the time.
Yeah.
If one of these little things, like, I imagine that's because of the weight of the wire mostly.
Yeah.
But still, like, this little thing falls out, it's gone. Like, you're not finding that.
Yeah.
And this little case, you can lose it. It actually, so the great thing about Raycon, actually, is it comes with this little case, so you can lose both at once.
Yeah. And also, each has an individual lithium battery, and there's nothing dangerous about lithium batteries, especially in your ears.
So that's what I was going to say at the start of this podcast, was that sort of ad spiel. Yeah. But today I watched a video by some sort of audio engineer guy who actually bought some Raycons. And he had a whole other experience with them where, first of all, he had to buy them. He wasn't sponsored by them. He couldn't get them in Australia. They don't sell to Australia, so he had to find them on eBay and get them shipped over. Yeah. They cost $150 Australian dollars or something, which is similar to Canadian. Yeah. And that's ridiculous for, like, if they were $60, I would be like, I don't know. Yeah. He did a little audio test with them, and he had, I don't know exactly what it was. It was like pitch range. Yeah. So it was like bass, mega bass, high pitch, most instruments and vocals, cymbals, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so it shows how much it boosts the sound of each. And so he showed like super high quality headphones, and it stays basically level at every step. Raycons boost the bass like crazy and boost the high pitch like crazy. So they're allowing you to swell almost like artificially by going like, oh yeah, well it goes from low to high, but they're putting all the work in the low and the high, and then
so it can basically just handle hitting those.
Yeah. So you'll have you can go low at least with them, I guess, but it's gonna be quite loud, and then you're gonna it depends on the kind of music you listen to, I guess. But they don't give you that range, basically. Mm-hmm. You need music with a lot of drums, like boom, 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 boom. And he said that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the time you'd be typically wearing something like Raycons would be on a bus, and the bus's engine is going to drown out most bass. So this is actually could be an advantage. But it is low audio quality. He found the design was very cheap. The plastic was very cheap. The case he found was very sharp, and he couldn't open it all the way and then he snapped it like very easily. And he found just most of the components fairly cheap. And he also found it's called, I don't remember. They're Nether wireless earbuds, and they cost $60 or maybe $50.
Yeah.
They have higher quality case. They have 40 hours of charge, not 24.
Yeah.
Like with the case, they have 40. Their case is less like a little tube that stabs into your leg. It's flatter, so it's more. It presses more evenly. It is a larger case, but the Raycon one is tiny. They have better quality than Raycons.
Yeah.
Better quality sound, and they're just made of higher quality components.
Huh.
So.
But do they look stylish?
They look kind of cool, actually.
And are they trying to buy every single YouTuber?
Like, they don't actually look like some weird earring or wine cork or something. Yeah, like they look. They kind of show their or it's a fake one maybe, but it's like a circuit grid on them.
Yeah.
So you see these circuit grid sort of things. They're kind of cool looking, actually.
The original wireless headsets I remember seeing, or like wireless earbuds.
Yeah.
Were they would go in and they had this weird hook thing, like glasses, that would like wrap around the back of your ear. And you'd like put them in, then you put that hook in, and they had something else that like grab onto a different part of your ear. They looked a little cumbersome, but it's like that was the original design, was these like things that use the shape of your ear to hold onto your head.
So my original complaint was wireless earbuds in general, I think, are a fairly bad idea.
Yeah.
Except in limited circumstances. If you're digging a hole, that can be nice, because then the wires don't get in your way.
And bugs can't get into your ears.
So there is a market for them, I guess, but it's limited, and they're acting like... there's some weird push, like this is the way that we should go, instead of it being like... It would, you know what it'd be like? It would be like if... like wheelchairs were like getting marketed to everyone. Like, buy your whatever wheelchair, get this wheelchair. And it's like, no, wheelchairs are very useful to a small subset of people, not everyone. And so wireless like earbuds, I think, would be the same. Like, they're useful for a very limited set of tasks, not always.
Yeah. And
not getting pushed so heavily, and like, they're not the future. They're not the upgrade to wired headsets. They're a different use scenario. It's like, I'm willing to sacrifice audio quality. Like, I'm willing to sacrifice fidelity for versatility if I'm trying to do actions that involve moving my hands past my chest a bunch or something.
Yeah.
And
now, are they waterproof?
I wouldn't want to swim with them. Like, if they fall out, then they're gone.
Could you take a shower with them?
I just play a speaker by the shower or something. And also, then you can't clean your ears, so it kind of defeats the purpose of the shower. But that was my original complaint, was just wireless earbuds in general. But then I saw this review of them, and then, these things cost twice as much as a better quality thing. Like, so they're not even good on that front. Ridge Wallet, it's like they're trying to create a market for something that doesn't exist. Like, you know what people say a lot? Leather wallets, man, we need to upgrade those. So we're going to make this wallet that doesn't... It's because, their marketing thing is that they're slim, so they fit in small pockets.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but then they don't fit as much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And also, carbon fiber is like brittle, and if you like from archery, like you do not want to slide your finger back and forth on carbon fiber.
Yeah.
Like it I imagine the Ridge wallets, they probably do an epoxy, or they're very well made or something.
Yeah.
but it isn't a miracle substance. It's like fiberglass.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like better fiberglass basically. And you don't see people making fiberglass wallets.
Also more toxic.
Well, it's not toxic. It's non-reactive, but it can
Well, if you get the shards in you though.
Yeah, like it's like asbestos where like okay, asbestos will flake naturally. Like carbon fiber's fine unless you break it. So you'll be okay. I don't want to slander Ridge Wallet. Yeah, and I don't want to slander Ridge Wallet either. Like carbon fiber is inert and it's very strong, but it just sounds like you're getting this uncomfortable thing that doesn't fit much in your pocket. It's very stiff.
If you want a smaller wallet but less stuff in your wallet,
yeah, just get a smaller wallet.
Yeah.
Get a little coin purse or something.
Or there's a very common thing which people do, which even a lot of pants have it integrated in, which is they have these little hooks next to the pocket, and the wallets are designed so you can attach them to the hook, and it's on the outside of your pants.
Convenient for pickpockets.
Well, usually they have clasps and stuff on them.
I don't like it when there's two kinds of product making, right?
Yeah.
You see a void that isn't being filled, and you fill it, or you try to create something.
A void.
Yeah. And you're
and then you make something to fill it.
You're like, boy, howdy, like, your eyebrows aren't green. You need this green eyebrow dye. Dyes your eyebrows green.
Mm.
It's kind of like, I don't know, beard oil and whatnot. Like,
yeah. Well, remember that Asterix and Obelix, or that master marketer starts selling obsculisks, and everyone in the village is making them, and they're like trying to market them to Rome. It's like, but no one needs them. And he talks about like the reason people want them is your wealthy neighbor has them, and
yeah,
it's just like this completely ridiculous thing.
Yeah, they're selling stuff that has no point of existing. Then
it's a toaster and a juice sir at the same time.
So Raid, at least Raid is more honest, right? They're not trying to improve your life; they're trying to take your money.
Yeah, their claims of like the RPG hit or the top rated RPG.
Okay, this is something that really gets my goat, right?
Yeah.
It just gets it in, it takes its little square pupils and spits in them and
okay, that's a little gross, but
and then it like slaps it on its rump a few times and then like starves it for a while. Like it abuses my goat. It doesn't
rides
just
off with your goat holding onto his antlers into the.
It doesn't just get my goat. It abuses it and then like sends it back to me, and my goat's really sad and like beat up and hungry. And,
oh, poor goat.
And then I have to tend to my goat, and like it's like where you blind half of every prisoner you take and send them back to the country instead of executing them to cripple the country. Like they've hurt my goat.
Okay.
Right? But these mobile ads especially, but it's also MMO and MMO actually I can see the reasoning. A lot of mobile ads though. They say we have 40,000 players, or World of Warships will say like we have 20,000 players, we have 10 million players, we have 20 million players, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean your game's good. Like, what? Why do I care? Like, especially Raid, right? Yeah. Raid has a PvP element, from what I understand. But I think the main point of the game is just you just watch your characters
and put gear on them.
Automatically beat a random set of creatures, and then you win or lose. So I don't care that other people are playing this game. Do I? Well, I like it. Like, that is such a bad marketing point. MMOs, I can give a tiny bit of slack, like World of Warships and whatnot, because if nobody is playing the game, then the servers are going to shut down, and then you won't be able to play the game. But that's
so you shouldn't invest in if there's not enough players.
Yeah, but that's basically just saying our game is delicate. Just don't worry. Like, look, it's like you have two babysitters, right? And you have one that's like dangling your baby over a cliff, and you have one that's holding your baby, right? And the one that's dangling your baby over the cliff is like, don't worry, I've put like 20 cushions down there. Like this baby is safe. I've got very strong arms.
Also, 20 out of 20 babies I've held over this cliff have not been dropped.
Yeah, I've got very strong arms. I work out like 10 times a day just to make sure I won't drop these babies. And like, I'm going to go with the baby that... Like, I don't really like Okay, I love multiplayer is the only way I'd play games if I had the option. But what is called multiplayer games, which tends to be massively multiplayer games, I don't like that. Like online games, they don't last. Like they're gone.
Yeah.
It's sad. Like there was actually a talk by the guy who did the Mega Man collection. So there was a like greatest 6 Mega Man games or something. The guy that made that did a talk at GDC, and he said we took this weird turn where we decided emulation was bad, and so now we are losing art. We're losing our legacy. Like if Batman came out in like the 60s or something, you can still watch Batman today, but if a game came out in the 80s, you can't play those games today.
Yeah.
Like Angry Birds, you can't play that anymore.
Yeah, no.
You can't...
Well, while you're talking about like having to be devoted to servers, I think one of the really sad ones is My Quest for Epic Loot, the original form we played it in.
Yeah, that's gone.
Like, that was a brilliant game, and now it's gone.
What else do you have? You had... like Here's My Magic 6 actually had that issue, but thankfully they removed the always online component because they stopped supporting that game quite quickly, but they also at least made it so you could play it.
Yeah.
Like a game like Fortnite or Fall Guys, they're going to disappear.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because a lot of people really enjoy them. Fortnite at least will have the single player aspect to it.
Yeah.
Or the local multiplayer.
And there's always, I mean, for very big games you can't do it, but for like smaller games, there's Server Ranger and whatever those are. Where
like Game Ranger and whatnot.
Game Ranger, that's it.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like Fortnite and Dota and League of Legends and they will probably always have support in some form at least.
Yeah.
Because I imagine like Valve or something, like when Dota stops being popular, they'll be like, okay, but we'll let you play at LAN or something. Mm-hmm. Like we'll at least leave that feature. Like I don't know if that's a feature already, but they'll at least give you that component. And I imagine Fortnite, like you can't do a battle royale LAN, but they could maybe make a small mode before leaving. Like here you go. But will they? Like they're not going to make money from that. So that's kind of worrying. Like at least Dota only is 10 players, so you have that chance that they can make you a smaller mode.
And even then, like the old mod, like you can play Dota All Stars still in Warcraft 3 by if you get enough people together and putting them into a game.
And actually, a lot of these bigger, like really popular games, like there's one called what's it called? It's like a space fighting game where you have two teams of like a bunch of soldiers and you shoot each other and whatnot. But players have actually made their own dedicated servers to play on. So as long as you leave in the materials to hook into something, then there's a chance. But then there's companies like Nintendo and there's also EA to a lesser extent. Although I think EA is better about this. Like Nintendo, I think, is the worst company for this. They will shut down, like Mario 64. Mm-hmm. There was an emulation of this game that ran in widescreen. You could upgrade the graphics. You could use AI upscaling to improve all the textures. And Nintendo shut them down. They threatened to sue them if they didn't stop their emulation. And then they released their All-Star version, which also runs on an emulator and isn't widescreen, doesn't have upscaled textures, and doesn't have the ability to remap controls, is missing Mario Galaxy 2. Like, it's missing a lot. There was the Metroid Prime trilogy was I think that's what it was called. It was a fan-made...
they remade the whole game in the graphics of...
Yeah, or sorry, it's the Metroid, trilogy or something.
Yeah.
Super Metroid. And the second game especially, they heavily remade.
Yeah.
Nintendo remade the second game as well, and they eliminated this game. Mm-hmm. And now I saw a video that argued that neither of the remakes stayed true to the original, which is kind of annoying because then instead of being the definitive version of the game, you now have 3 versions of the game, and all of them are different. But they shut it down. Like this was fans lovingly recreated an entire massive game.
Yeah.
And so that people could still play it. Like, it's like, oh man, I was thinking just the other day, like, I want to play Zelda, like the original Zelda. It's like, how am I going to do this? It's on Nintendo. I think what I'm going to do probably is just get the free subscription to Nintendo Online.
Yeah. But
it would be nice, and so that's nice that the option's there, but there's a lot of smaller games that the option isn't there.
That's been my worry with the Minecraft Middle-earth server.
Yeah.
Is one of the things is the server is far enough away that I have troubles connecting to it.
Yeah.
So it's not as a nice experience for me to play. But also they don't want anyone to download it, so you're forced to come to their server to... Oh, stop with this thing. But you're forced to go to their server to basically work with them. You can only view it through them. And they want that so they can keep getting traffic, no one downloads it. But kind of when it's all said and done, like if they don't have a download and then eventually someone's like, yeah, I don't feel like hosting a server anymore. It's like this ridiculously huge map and project that's amazing looking will just disappear.
Yeah.
Like the library is downloadable. It has a dedicated server, but they also made the library for books in Minecraft downloadable.
Yeah, it's there's a short-sightedness in it. Age of Wonders 3, I was very disappointed when they were acquired by Paradox. I wasn't disappointed by that. Paradox makes some of my favorite games of all time. When Triumph was acquired by them. But then they put in a bunch of stuff, like you had to say where you're from, your age, like your location, your age, to play the game.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, they promised no DRM because it was on GOG, and you can't have a game with DRM on GOG. It's not allowed. But they actually put DRM in the game because when you launch the game, you don't get the game, you get a launcher that you have to have a registered account to. So you don't actually own the game. Like you have to have this service, and then you can't, like any GOG game, you can play LAN with a friend on one copy by giving them a copy and playing. And look, you can say like, please buy this game to your friend, or you can say we'll only do it for this game or something.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time it's just like, hey, I just want to show you a game, or like you and your brother want to play a game, you live in the same house, you would do it anyways. It's just a faster way to do hot seat even potentially.
Yeah.
And it's just more convenient. And like Divinity Original Sin, you can play that at this one computer.
Well, was it Age of Empires 3 had that update that we all did, which made so you could launch the game without a CD, wasn't it, or something like what was it with the Dynasty Edition? Because we'd have to like each of us put in the CD when me and our dad all wanted to play it. But then they released the update, which is you no longer need the CD to launch the game.
I thought you always did.
Maybe there's some sort of update that made it so it's easier for us to do the multiplayer. I recall.
Yeah, I don't, but it could be. But it's
It's like it would work as long as you're all on the same IP, I think, or something.
But another thing about DRM, let alone being able to copy the game, which is like the thing that they're afraid of. Like they don't want you to be able to just get free copies of the game and pass them out and distribute them. And I understand that, but there's an inconvenience to DRM. It makes your games run slower, and it makes them run worse. And it makes, like, you have to memorize a password, you have to register an account just to play Paradox's games or Triumph's games.
Yeah.
And it's a real shame. But not only that, the new spy software they put into Age of Wonders, or maybe it was always there and now they had to admit it because Paradox said, hey, you have to tell them, which would be a lot worse. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say Paradox said you have to add the spy software in.
Yeah.
Which actually seems unlikely to me. It was probably more like Paradox said, okay, you have to tell them about it, which would be really, that would be something. But anyways, once they put that in, and this whole like, where do you live, how old are you, that sort of thing, my game started crashing a lot, like, and I couldn't start it a lot of the time because all this stuff would pop up, this extra stuff. And when Paradox goes bankrupt, who knows, like 40 years from now, 20 years, 5, who knows, the company just ends, whatever might happen, then it's just Age of Wonders 3 is just going to run slower. It's going to have this program doing nothing, just sending off, like, wasting your data and draining your power. Like, it's a 32 what do you call it, 32-bit, I think, game, which means it has a maximum of 3 gigabytes it can use. So you're limiting it, like, just with
adding an extra bit of software to it,
adding just a bit more software to it. And so someone's like, maybe there will be a 64-bit remake down the line, but it just doesn't run as well anymore. And it's a shame because they're not even going to use that forever. And it's just now there, this vestigial organ that's just only detrimental to the game. Whereas I fire up Battle Realms, the game runs beautifully to this day. Like, just bam. And that's the developers, you know, they were like, yeah, we're gonna make this work. That is made by Liquid, I think. And I don't know if they're still around, but man, they make games that just work.
Really, they just work.
And it's, speaking of just working, actually, unless you had more on that.
Oh, it's just, I'm still always so shocked about we wanted to play Battlegrounds multiplayer, and we're both mentally preparing ourselves like, okay.
Well, we just tried Empire's Earth. Like, we had just made that work. And Empire's Earth, we had to get a random key generator. We had to alter some of the game files.
And then, like, sometimes it just went launch, or you had to get the IP. And so I was just like, when we were doing it, I was mentally getting myself ready for like, okay, it's probably going to be like an hour or two before.
Oh, and we'd be doing Sacrifice where you have to launch the game like 30 times to get it to launch once.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, it's probably going to be like 2 hours before we can play this game, and then maybe we'll get to play it for an hour. And so we both launch the game, and it launches no problem.
Launches instantly.
Yeah, he opens up a multiplayer server on LAN. And I look at multiplayer server and it's like...
He sees my game.
But I was like thinking, it's not going to be there, going to have to search for it through IP or something. Like, even modern games you get this is there. It's like, click on it.
It's like, okay, but Age of Empires 3, it's like that, but you click on it and then it doesn't...
crashes.
You have the wrong version.
And then it's like, boop, and we load them both in the same game. It's like, select your classes and like, what?
And then we're just playing the game, and we're like, wait, what? We went from not launching the game to playing together in like a minute.
Yeah, it felt wrong. I mean, it felt right, but it felt...
Like, those guys, I want to write all the netcode for every game ever.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Actually, Factorio's pretty good at that too.
Yeah, no, Factorio's really easy.
Like, the programmers of Factorio are just amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's companies out there that Bethesda and Paradox and Obsidian, they're game designers, not programmers.
Yeah.
But the people that make Factorio, they're programmers.
Yeah.
And yeah, so with Bethesda in particular, I don't think their games have ever been that stable. But that's not really
a matter.
Well, it's not really entirely their fault. Like, it is their fault for making such a big game.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the downside of such a big game is you can't play test it. Like, it's too big to figure out, like, okay, what happens if you bring this item on this side of the world here and do the specific like backflip while casting one of 300 spells on one of like 1,000 creatures. Like,
or what if you jump over this wall and get into the town's treasury?
Like, there's just so much they can't account for.
Mm-hmm.
But the saving grace of Bethesda is the console, where you can fix any bug yourself, basically, in the game.
Yeah.
Which makes playing on console kind of on console, like on an Xbox or a PlayStation, actually a downside, because you have a game-breaking bug, too bad.
Yeah.
But on a computer, like, you...
Well, I think the no-clip thing should be, like, standard fare in a lot of games. Like, in bug mode, being able to activate that. Because even in The Witcher at times, there's areas where I was trying to find the no-clip thing, and they don't have it. They have this weird teleportation system, which can really damage your game.
So playing The Witcher on the Switch...
Yeah.
I auto-saved in a hole I couldn't get out of. Like, I was just swimming, and I swam under a fence, like I kind of clipped through the fence, and I was in this hole, and I couldn't get out of it, and the game auto-saved in this hole.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, either I go back like an hour, or what I ended up doing was like spending 15 minutes just trying to wiggle out of this hole.
Yeah.
And it's...
Yeah, or in Skyrim, like, you fall, you're walking a mountain, and you fall into a crevasse that, like, accidentally spawned.
And you just do a little TLC or whatever it's called, or TCL, whatever it is. Just...
Player no collide.
Yeah, and then...
teleport to start.
Or if you're playing a dungeon, like, the key clips through the floor or something.
Yeah.
Just fly through the door.
Yeah, or create a new key.
Yeah. And it lets you fix things, which, like, giving the players the whole console on consoles could let them crash the console and, like, break it, which would be bad.
Yeah.
But I almost think Bethesda should consider for Starfield and for Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah.
Like a
minor sheet of commands, just so you don't...
Like, if you hold down all 4 trigger buttons at once, let's say, and, like, you know, hold down all the buttons and all the trigger buttons at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, hold down A, B, X, Y, both trigger buttons. A little thing pops up, and it gives you, like, basically just quest complete, and delete object, and
teleport to some
teleport
location, like...
and no clip. Like, Like, don't let the players spawn stuff in, because that's when it can get out of hand and they can spawn in way too much stuff.
Yeah.
But just, like, give them at least the tools to fix the quest. Or even just, like, refresh cell. Like, just that, but, like, an option, like, not even delete or something. Just refresh cell to hopefully get something back. Another game that could have benefited from that is Pillars of Eternity. Yeah. Where you ended up soft locking yourself at the end of the game. Yeah. Because you were too weak to beat the final boss, and there's no way to leave the final dungeon. Yeah. And you had no save to go back. Yeah. So you just soft lock the game. Yeah. Which that's not good. Yeah. But yeah, you know,
soft locking is the worst thing.
Obsidian, for some reason, gets a lot. Like, they have very devoted fans. Yeah. But they're not actually that good at, like, making robust games. Yeah. Like New Vegas, a very crashy game, very buggy. Pillars of
Eternity has a lot of problems.
Pillars of Eternity, a lot of problems, and their games also aren't like
Starfield even. Sorry, not Starfield. Their equivalent, or whatever. What is it called?
Oh, Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds, I have no direction in that game. I feel so lost in it.
Well, the Paul Joseph Anderson, that guy that just hates games, he tore that game apart. Like, he had his...
My biggest complaint is I have no idea what I'm doing. I just feel lost.
His biggest complaint was weird, and I'm not sure about it. Like, okay, he didn't tear it apart. He obviously hated it. Let's put it that way. Like, his argument wasn't untouchable or anything, but he thought that their writing was really bad because they're trying to say corporations are bad, but instead they're saying corporations are stupid, am I right, guys? With the same jokes over and over again that make no sense for the world having a cohesion to it. Because there's no way that a corporation this stupid would rise to the prominence it reached, and there's no way that, like, and so he sort of attacked it on the lazy writing front.
Well, like, comparatively to Skyrim, I think that's the closest thing, or even Fallout. Like, I'll use Fallout 4 as a better close comparison. So there's a bit of a vague story in Fallout, and you sort of know what you're supposed to do. But one of the really charming parts of Fallout and Skyrim is you can wander around, and eventually you'll find the story. And it's like, okay, yeah, I get what I'm doing. In this game, you travel from planet to planet, so it's required for you to fast travel, basically. And so I went to one planet and sort of found some things, and there's a lot of tough enemies there that I can't really fight, and so I left it, and I think the main quest is in another area with a bunch of tough enemies and not strong enough to fight. Then all the other planets are, like, locked, and I can't fly to them. And so I have absolutely no idea what I'm meant to do.
Well, there's a mission statement that Bethesda has that almost no other company has. Like, Chronobytes kind of does, and that's about the only company I can think of. Once Lost Games, they do, but they've never made a game. But they will, once their game comes out, have this mission statement. But Bethesda's mission statement for their games, basically, is go anywhere, be anyone. Whereas most other games try to give you a story. They're trying to be a movie with, like, where you play it or something. Yeah. They're trying to be a movie you can play, whereas Bethesda actually makes role-playing games.
Yeah. Which, I mean, the first Dragon Age was pretty close to that. I mean, it does have its issues, but, like, that's one of the reasons people praise the first Dragon Age game so much. And then the other games is like, whoa, why am I so locked into a story? And people don't like the later games.
But Bethesda kind of messes that up, not in their gameplay, but in their writing. Yeah. Like, Skyrim is okay, because you're told, like, you escaped the prison, and you escape, like, running from the dragon, and then it's like, meet me in Winterfell or something. Yeah. And then you don't have to do the quest. So, like, because they're saying meet me there, they're not saying meet me there immediately, there's no rush. Fallout is terrible. Like, Fallout 3, it's like, your dad has been kidnapped, you need to go save him. So if you do any wandering, your dad's probably getting tortured, your dad's probably going to die. Yeah, Fallout 4, your child has been taken. Yeah. So it's not, I'll just wander around, The Witcher. Find Ciri, hurry.
Hurry, the Wild Hunt is coming.
The only reason in The Witcher I'm not in a super hurry is because I've read the books, and, like, Geralt takes his time finding Ciri in those as well.
And she's a time traveler.
Yeah, so you're not going to find her just by rushing anyways. Yeah. And also, it's not as, like, it's pretty urgent in The Witcher, but it's not, like, super urgent. But it's bad, I think, in The Witcher. All the same.
Especially when you, like, are in the later quests of The Witcher. And it's like, all right, we're about to, like, do this big thing. Excuse me, I've got a few griffin contracts around here. I'll be right back. Wait, Geralt, we're about to do something big. Nope, I'm going off.
In Oblivion, they're like, the fate of the world is in your hands. Quickly find my son before the world ends. It's like, well, that's a little bit... That doesn't help with the restful, like, get to go anywhere. In Morrowind... I don't know the plot of Morrowind.
Yeah.
In Daggerfall, you have to go investigate the murder of the Emperor or something. But you're only supposed to deliver a letter within a month, and you can even fail that quest and keep playing the game. So, like, Daggerfall is fairly open-ended, but it does kind of force you along.
Yeah.
Haven't played Arena. I haven't played Morrowind either, but...
Baldur's Gate, there's just one good story option to take. You don't do anything.
Well, it's like Oblivion, right? They're sorry, not Oblivion, Obsidian. They are given a lot of credit as being, like, you know, great story writers and great... Well, they're given, like, great story writers, like, oh, their games are way better. But Pillars of Eternity, I don't think is the spiritual successor to Baldur's Gate, like the new big thing. I think it's...
It feels more like Icewind Dale to me than Baldur's Gate.
Well, it's more of a copy, too. It's not like the next big thing. Pillars of... Divinity Original Sin. That is the spiritual successor. Like, these are the people that are moving the CRPG genre forward.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is really cool, really fun combat.
They've been given the creation of Baldur's Gate 3. Like, Obsidian was... I mean, not to... no, I don't work for either company, but Obsidian wanted to do Baldur's Gate 3. So did Larian. Larian got Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad Larian got it because their games are so good. But, again, they are game designers, not programmers. They can't... Like... Baldur's Gate 3, I am going to wait a long time before I play it. Because I know how this goes.
The game has exploded! What, you made your computer upset? Or like... No, the game literally explodes. See, look at my desktop, like the little icon, its fragments are all over the place.
Like, they're still releasing updates to Divinity Original Sin 2.
Yeah.
So...
Well, they have a much bigger team, though.
Yeah, so they'll be able to put in twice as many bugs in half the time.
Yeah.
And, what was,
Fanstratics.
Actually, now I want to talk a bit more on Oblivion, if possible.
Sure,
we'll get to
ahead.
Fanstratics, but not Oblivion, but Obsidian.
Yeah.
I think that there has been a perception among Elder Scrolls fans, like the hardcore ones, since Arena. Maybe since Arena, but since Daggerfall at the very least, that the game is getting dumbed down with each version.
Yeah.
So. Daggerfall, massive game, huge amount of systems. You go to Morrowind, and then tiny game in comparison.
Yeah.
And they remove some weapons, they remove some abilities, they remove some systems.
Yeah.
Then Morrowind goes to Oblivion, and it goes on to consoles, and they have loading screens everywhere. They get rid of a bunch of abilities that let you jump really high so you can't jump over walls. Yeah. Because they need those loading screens.
They make cities their own individual entities, right?
They get rid of a bunch of weapons again. They reduce skills a bunch again. They change leveling up in a way that I want to get into, but I'll get to that. Then Skyrim, they make even simpler. They make leveling up incredibly simple, whereas Oblivion was still fairly complicated. They get rid of a whole bunch more skills. They combine a bunch more weapons. Like, there's no more... Like, in Oblivion, they got rid of short blades and long blades. They put them both into long swords.
Yeah.
In Skyrim, they got rid of all but, like... They got rid of...
one-handed and two-handed weapons.
There's one-handed, two-handed range.
Pick your flavor of those.
And people go on and on about this. About how, like, Skyrim is, like... They call it as wide as an ocean, as deep as a puddle sort of thing.
Yeah.
But there is another side to this, and I don't think Todd Howard gets enough credit, because Oblivion has really bad systems, and Morrowind and Daggerfall have way too many. Because what is the point of having short sword, long sword, bastard sword if they all feel the same?
Yeah.
It's just numbers. What's the point of having a complicated leveling up system at all, when in Skyrim it's just what you do is what you get good at?
Yeah.
In Oblivion, right? This is insane. You choose 7 major skills and you have 21 minor skills.
Right.
Okay. So your 7 major skills are the only skills, like it's the Elder Scrolls system that's always been in Elder Scrolls. If you do something, you get better at it.
Yeah.
Very cool system. But what happens in Oblivion is if you increase any of your major skills by 10 times, so like any combination, you increase 1 by 10, you increase 2 by 5, you increase each one, like you increase 7 of them by 1 and 6 of them by 1 and the final one by 4.
Yeah.
You will level up. So you just have to increase them 10 times, you level up.
Yeah.
However, the more you use a skill, the more you get of that attribute when you level up. So if you use a lot of strength-based skills, you will gain more strength when you level up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that seems fine so far. But they round down, which means if you use like half strength skills and half endurance skills, you will actually get less total points than if you just used pure strength skills. And certain skills, I believe it is endurance, are unavoidable if you plan to wear armor or jump or whatever it might, or run, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Furthermore, the leveling up in that game actually makes you weaker because all enemies scale with you at like a ridiculous rate. Like they actually scale faster than you do, basically.
Yeah.
And the more you use your secondary skills before you level up, the more bonus attributes you will gain. So if your minor skill is, let's say, illusion, and you use a lot of illusion, when you level up, your willpower will go up by a lot more because you've been training at using illusion. But you haven't been moving towards leveling up. Which means that the best way to build a class in Oblivion, if you can think about it, is think of what kind of character you want to be.
Yeah.
And then for your 7 major skills, what do you choose?
The ones that are relevant to
the ones you will never use.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That will get you the most points every time you level up, and that will make your character as strong as possible. So one thing you can do is like make one of your major skills, let's say heavy armor.
Yeah.
Never wear heavy armor until you've played for like 6 hours, and then put on heavy armor, level it up 10 times, get the level up, take it off, and then just keep playing. Like, it's totally backwards. Skyrim is super elegant.
Yeah.
Plus they added in the
trees.
The trees, which are very cool.
With the perks in them.
Skyrim also is like, okay, what is all our one-handed weapons are the same, so they're just going to be called one-handed. Now, I hope that in Elder Scrolls 6, they do something with that, because they're right. Like, in Oblivion, it didn't matter. Like, they would just damage things. In Morrowind, it didn't matter. In Daggerfall, it doesn't matter. Like, a polearm isn't a polearm in any of those games, really.
Yeah.
But
very few games actually have polearms be polearms.
It would be nice if they did that, like if they actually made like a difference between a mace and an axe. That is like a huge decision to make.
Yeah, or even the two-handed axe versus a hammer.
Yeah, because
there is a big difference in those.
Yeah, and their damage range is what you sometimes see, like in Diablo, and that's just so, or like attack speed.
Yeah,
and it's not enough. Like you need
to basically take the system,
like Battle Brothers. You're like, oh, this is a big choice.
Yeah, Battle Brothers gives you a big choice in
Mountain Blade.
But Mountain Blade, like take Mountain Blade system where it's like, all right, so we're going to give every single part of a weapon. Like their latest game, they really did this, and I think this is what took them a very long time to make a game. It's like, we're going to give every single part of this weapon a weight, an amount of air resistance, a strength to it, a hardness value, and how sharp it can be. And then we're going to match this up with armor that people wear and their health. And then we're going to add this together with a physics system in the world.
I don't think they have to be that like Elder Scrolls. You don't want like Mountain Blade is a combat simulator.
Yeah.
Simulator. Elder Scrolls isn't.
Yeah.
But at least do something like Dark Souls, where every weapon has different animation sets.
Yeah.
Like the hammer is slow and has a big wind up, and you break through armor and it's very like boom.
Yeah.
And like a dagger is very quick and you can roll around, like something like that.
Yeah.
Now the other thing that they get a lot of, like, I think in some ways the games actually get better with each game, because Morrowind added items in the world. Like now the Elder Scrolls is famous for this, but they didn't have this in Daggerfall. But in Morrowind, anything you can see, you can pick up basically.
Yeah.
Which is huge for immersion.
Stupid modders, though. I don't think that's a thing.
Well, that's the thing a lot of house modders miss, is they don't have them pick upable. They don't have them interactable. Oblivion took it a step further, and they added physics to every object in the game.
Yeah.
So then you could knock over a bookshelf and like, make all the books go flying.
You can pick up a sweet cake.
You can pick up a sweet cake. You can throw a sweet cake.
Yeah.
You can put a basket on someone's head or something. Skyrim
added Fusro da.
Well, Skyrim added Fusro da, but they also actually made the physics good.
Yeah.
Like Oblivion's physics were very clunky, very hard to control. Skyrim, you can actually like pick up stuff, manipulate it. It has hitboxes that make sense. People ragdoll like they're not just like weird floaty balloon animals like in Oblivion.
And you can shout at a table covered in stuff and have it go flying everywhere.
So Skyrim has a lot less stuff than something like Daggerfall, but every single decision in Skyrim matters. Whereas in Daggerfall, you can say like, oh, well, it matters huge because if I choose Longsword, then I'm stuck with Longsword. If I choose Dagger, I'm stuck with Dagger. But if there's no difference between you're just like swinging it in space, then they might as well be the same skill. So I think Skyrim is a step in the right direction. However, what would be ideal would be if they then, now that they have a base, I think Skyrim is basically at the point where every single choice matters, every single weapon matters. Almost like they still don't have a difference really between maces and axes and swords.
The difference between maces, axes, and swords are in the perks in which tree you choose to go on. Then like a mace can stun enemies, a sword can cause bleeding, an axe breaks through more armor. They have those in the perk trees, and it's like a minor thing.
So it's there, but it would be nice if it was bigger, but it's there at least. But what would be nice then is if Elder Scrolls 6 is at like goes back into diversity, but diversity that matters. And like people also don't like how in Skyrim there's only 3 stats. There's Magicka, there's health, and there's stamina. And stamina is tied to your endurance, and health is tied to your health regen, and Magicka is tied to your Magicka regen. And
if Todd could get away with it, he combined Magicka and stamina.
But on the other hand, like, is that like what decision were you making before? Like, I think I do think that having 3 stats for like 6 things or 9 things might be a little small. But the thing about the Elder Scrolls is people are missing their number crunching, right?
Yeah.
But the Elder Scrolls is able to be the Elder Scrolls without number crunching because what Skyrim has done is you don't like. I think they should get rid of the ability to level up your Magicka and your stamina and your health. Actually,
it just happens.
Like if you get hit a bunch, your health goes up. If you cast a bunch of spells, your Magicka goes up. If you run a lot, your stamina goes up. Like if you carry a lot, your endurance goes up. Like
2 of the 3 makes sense there, but I feel
like you become tough. You become tough. You're like you're tough and wiry and like you can take a beating.
So
like I think Skyrim is a game that should basically do away with leveling up.
Yeah.
Like the only thing like the perks I think are a good idea. And maybe those should be through like every time you gain 10 skills you level up or something.
Yeah.
Or actually how Skyrim does it is even better than that. So if you increase lockpicking from like 1 to 2, you'll get like, let's make up a number, like 5 experience.
Yeah.
If you increase lockpicking from like 98 to 99, you'll get like 1,000 experience. Like you get way more experience for leveling up higher skills, which actually means
you will specialize.
That although Skyrim got rid of classes, you still specialize because if you want to level up, then you are, and you want to increase your perks, then you are actually having to work along stuff you already know.
Yeah.
Another complaint I saw with Skyrim was if you spend like 1 to 3 hours building iron daggers, you can then make the strongest gear in the game. My take on this is if you want to spend 1 to 3 hours making iron daggers, you deserve the strongest gear in the game.
I remember when I started messing around with crafting.
Like that is just sounds incredibly boring to me.
When you start messing around with the, like, not potion making, but like the forge and leveling that stuff up and you're like, oh, I'll go buy some iron from this person. Like, you put so much time into that.
And also, like, that takes like 300 iron where I've never gotten through, like, I don't know how you can actually do it.
Like, it takes iron, it takes leather strapping. It takes forever to do
I guess the idea would be that you make like 20 daggers, break them down, make 20 daggers. So Skyrim could easily fix that by making it impossible to break down items.
Well, you even get less resources back when you break them down.
Yeah, or just have a failure, like a failure chance. Like if you break down an item, there's a 20% chance you'll lose one of the materials.
Yeah.
Like that would suck if you're breaking down some dragon bone, but why are you breaking down dragon bone armor in the first place?
Yeah.
So I think
you're breaking down the second best armor in the game.
I think they could very easily fix that. So actually, I think that the main flaw that Skyrim has really isn't that it's shallow. I don't think it's shallow at all. I think like it has way more decision making than Daggerfall in some ways. Like you don't have spell creation, which there's that, but and I'm not going to say that Skyrim is like all perfect and everything, but I think it gets a lot of flack that it doesn't deserve. And what started me thinking along this is I watched a video by a guy called Will Loves Video Games. And he did a review of Oblivion, but through it he talked a lot about Morrowind and Skyrim.
Yeah.
And he was the first person I've seen talking about those three games.
Yeah.
That actually like gave Todd Howard his due in a way. Like Oblivion and Skyrim had a lot of steps backwards along stuff that didn't matter. It's like if you played a bunch of Shortest Trip to Earth.
Yeah.
And then FTL came out, and you played FTL, and you're like, FTL dumbs down Shortest Trip to Earth.
Yeah.
That's technically true, but every decision in FTL matters. Yeah. Whereas in Shortest Trip to Earth, it's all very granular and very...
It's like every decision in Shortest Trip to Earth matters as a whole, but you can ignore a lot of it.
And it's so, like, fiddly. Like, Shortest Trip to Earth, you didn't even have the option to create loadouts at one point. Now you can create loadouts, which is lovely.
Yeah.
But you have to create all like loadouts for travel, loadouts for combat, different combat loadouts depending on what you want to fight.
Yeah.
And you have to install it, and everything is fiddly, and it takes a while. And and you're like, okay, I can break this down for this, and then I do this, and I'll buy this, and I'll repair this.
And there's three different core materials, which is iron, components, and like rare materials.
Yeah.
And then there's the ammunition, fuel,
and food, and
FTL has scrap.
And I think FTL has like 80 to 90% of the interesting decisions that Shortest Trip to Earth has.
Yeah.
But there's nothing fiddly in FTL. Like there is absolutely no point in FTL that's busy work or fiddly.
You can learn to play FTL way faster than Shortest Trip to Earth.
And also, like, even if you know how to play Shortest Trip to Earth, it's fiddly.
Yeah.
Like RimWorld, a game I love, right?
Mm-hmm.
The start of RimWorld sucks. It's annoying. It's like, oh, I have to get through this section. Sort of. Like, I gotta do this and this and this. FTL has no downtime. Like, the entire game, there's nothing fiddly in it. Like, maybe, okay, I want you to be my captain, I want you to be... But it doesn't really matter, even. You're like, Rockman is on weapons, Mantis is on boarding crew. Like, it's very simple.
And he is on repair.
Yeah.
This guy is on shields.
And you can switch them very easily.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Shortest Trip to Earth, you have to read, like, a whole bunch of different stats and then, like...
level them up.
Compare them to each other and, like, do I want this or do I want this?
Yeah.
And, like, look, Shortest Trip to Earth is not a bad game, but it is very inelegant. It's like a great big... Like, it's got more decisions, but I think that FTL is a better made game. And I'm not saying that like the more decisions aren't welcome. I think I had this great moment in Shortest Trip to Earth where I was fighting a guy, all my weapons were offline, and I was like, I'm going to lose this fight. I was like, okay, scrap the food processor. We're turning it into a nuke, and we're going to we're going to break this thing apart, rebuild it into a nuke, shove it into this thing, shoot. Like that is amazing. Yeah. I wish you could do that in FTL.
The modularity of the ship is, I think, one of the good features.
You can never do that in FTL because each module is way too important.
Yeah.
But I think Shortest Trip to Earth could scale back so much of its fiddly work. Mm-hmm. Like they could bring it so far back, and instead they added loadouts. They're like, yep, this game's clunky and we're going to put a band-aid on it rather than fix the clunkiness, which once I saw that, like I was like, okay, I'm interested in this game, I'm interested in this game, I'm not interested. Once I saw the loadout thing, it's like they don't want to fix this problem. They want to keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's getting unwieldy.
Yeah.
And I think that you do lose things when you get rid of the granularity, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Like, Xenonauts 2, I don't know if that's out yet, but they're going to get rid of the ability to carry whatever weapon you want and drop weapons.
Yeah.
And you are losing a huge part of being able to swap loadouts, have characters that are just caddies, having people that carry just shields and like a bunch of like rocket ammunition. Like there's a lot of interesting choices there. And Xenonauts 1 took away the ability to throw items, which like when do you ever throw items? But there's some amazing moments in XCOM where you like throw like a rocket launcher from character to character to character all the way down the line so that character can shoot. Like there's some very cool moments in XCOM.
Or you're trying to pass a Hynix to someone and you drop it and then an alien stray shot hits the Hynix.
Hynix,
yeah. And destroys your like space shuttle.
Yeah, or you throw and you miss, and then suddenly it's like if the aliens could pick up your weapons, that'd be amazing. Like you accidentally throw and miss like your blaster launcher, and then an alien picks it up and suddenly has one, like a blaster bomb.
Yeah.
Then that'd be amazing. And there is moments in there that are worth it. And I think that's what people miss from Morrowind and Daggerfall.
Yeah.
Is they got rid of a lot of these moments of like you can make a character in Morrowind that runs insanely fast or can jump over buildings.
Yeah.
And they got rid of that, and it's a shame that that's gone. But I think that Skyrim is so much more elegant that it is a much stronger building base for the next game.
Yeah.
And so hopefully they continue with that. And so yeah, it was interesting to see a different perspective to...
Also, graphical improvement wise, Skyrim, well, Oblivion to Skyrim, right? I wonder what Skyrim, the 6th Elder Scroll game will look like graphically if it has that leap again.
Well, Oblivion is a very good looking game. Like, it holds up today. Except for the characters.
Yeah.
Like, the animations and the characters are terrible, but the world of Oblivion is beautiful. Mm-hmm. I think, although that said, this 3D obsession, it's kind of like the earbuds, the wireless earbuds. Mm. Like, I was watching a video where a person was talking about how platformers have become a lot uglier in the jump to 3D, but they have to because that's where it's at now.
Yeah.
But why? Like Mario is beautiful. Why is it only indie games that can be two-dimensional?
Because 3D models are easier to work with in a video game environment.
Yeah, but indie studios are smaller. Like that's a lot more work.
Because it's
like why does 3D sell? Like it's such a weird fashion.
Well,
because I think Daggerfall is the best looking game until Skyrim.
It's so that whole thing though of why I say it's easier, but the indie games use 2D is let's say you're an ice cream salesman, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to use a weird metaphor here, okay? And so you you have like a small shop and you make all your ice cream by hand, right? And you go through the process of like spinning it and shaking and having the salt and whatnot. And you're a good like small ice cream shop. Now, there is absolutely no point for you to buy a big old ice cream machine because it'll only be able to make vanilla. That's all you'll be able to afford is one of them.
Yeah.
It'll only make vanilla, and although it will make it way easier, it won't be as good as the ice cream you had.
Right.
So, a big ice cream company could have a whole bunch of yous that are all like working by hand.
Yeah.
Or they could buy like 20 of the vanilla machines, 20 chocolate machines, and like a whole whack of others. And all these big machines can just produce all this ice cream, and it's far more worthwhile, far faster, far easier for them. So that's 3D to 2D leap, is big game companies buy the big machines, and that's the 3D models in the 3D space.
So the indie companies can't afford like Maya or something, is what you're saying, or what?
They can't afford Maya. They don't have time to learn it. There are only 3 people working at it, and so it's easier to draw what you can draw instead of learning to draw, animate in Maya.
Right. So yeah.
It's because you can, if you're a big company, you can find a specialist.
I guess anyone can do sprite work.
Yeah.
But you need someone that actually knows how to do 3D animation.
Yeah.
Even though 3D animation is easier,
yeah,
you have to be trained in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe something like that. But I think it's also just like a fashion thing. Like I think they're obsessed with it a little bit, like as a thing. And yeah, like the character models in Daggerfall aren't surpassed until Skyrim. And even then, I think Skyrim needs mods to really be better looking than Daggerfall. Yeah. Which is kind of sad that, like, Heroes of Might and Magic did this as well, where even number 7 doesn't look as good as number 2.
Yeah.
Number 7 doesn't look as good as number 1, I think. Like, and number 1's ugly.
Maybe the dragon, and the gargoyles.
And the fairy. Okay, number 1's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I think number 1 looks better than 4, 5, and 6. 6 actually can be okay looking. Yeah. So, but I think Heroes of Might and Magic number 1 looks better than 4 and 5.
5 has some cool special effects. Like casting Armageddon, that's a cool looking spell.
And number 3, I think, looks worse than number 2. But that's more of a stylistic choice than on models. Like, the models hold up today. Similar to how Donkey Kong Country. Did you know Donkey Kong Country is 3D models that are turned into sprites?
Yep.
And that's why it looks so realistic compared to...
One of the things I love about Heroes of Might and Magic 2 is how like these 3D sprite animators on YouTube, like they add skeletons to 3D models is basically what they do. And you go along and they're like, huh, that's a mummy from Heroes of Might and Magic. That's a zombie from Heroes of Might and Magic. Oh, look, they're using a knight from Heroes of Might and Magic. You can just...
What do you mean? Like,
they're using the sprite assets because the sprite sheets are online.
Right. Oh, to base their thing on.
Not base it, just using them.
So I've been watching The Dragon Prince.
Yeah.
The door opening sound effect.
Okay.
I swear is from Daggerfall.
Let me explain this to you, because I've looked into this a bit, and I've heard common sound effects everywhere. So, a huge amount of sound effects that people use come from Gary's mod.
Right.
Like a ridiculous amount. Like, no, that scream, like the... Like, a lot of people use it. Like, okay.
No.
There's a very common screaming sound effect is the zombies screaming.
Okay.
But there is also this company that no longer exists, but they had a massive and incredibly cheap sound effects library.
Ah, and so
Everyone bought it, and people still have it. Now there's a bunch of smaller companies that have bought the rights to those and spread it out and make new sound effects. But most sound effects in the world came from one company that you could buy them from.
Okay, because they are using the Daggerfall door opening sound effect in Dragon Prince, and that's very weird.
There's a Hermit Thrush song that is used in a lot of things.
In Baldur's Gate.
Baldur's Gate, a lot of movies with outdoor scenes, several other video games.
The birds around here use it, actually.
Well, it's one track, though, that's used. It's an outdoor ambience track that a lot of people use. You can even start using it, if you ever... A different comparisons, you listen to Kevin MacLeod's music.
Yeah.
You listen to his most popular stuff.
And you'll hear it everywhere.
Yeah, like Spin Monkey, Sneaky Sneak. Those two are both incredibly popular songs.
Yeah, and you listen to Two Steps from Hell and you'll see their stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
For movies and stuff. And what's their one that's like the... Kevin MacLeod has one that I hear absolutely everywhere.
It's either Spin Monkey or Sneaky Sneak.
It's the one in the movie we're doing where the guy's sneaking around and it's I forget how it goes right now. But okay, in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure,
it is Sneaky Sneak like that.
The sunrise, right?
Yeah.
That's the fireball spell in Age of Wonders.
Yeah, so Age of Wonders sound effects actually is a great example. The people dying.
Yeah.
That's actually a very common death sound effect. And all those sound effects are from that library.
And the plot of Dragon Prince, that's Age of Wonders plot. Did they get that from the plot library?
No.
Humans were banished from the elven realm and...
Banished from the god.
And then they just took, Warcraft's races and, abilities. The Dark Elves turn invisible at night.
During the full moon.
Yeah, the moon-related elves turn invisible at...
Moon elves are just illusion-related because the moon's illusions.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, so Heroes... the real Heroes 4, which is coming out years from now. Fanstratics. So you had something to say about that.
So, the coding with that game...
Yeah.
So the maker of the game is a coder. He's also a game designer. But... I guess it's kind of hard to listen to his talks because they're in small Polish areas and various other countries of that kind. He talks about coding a lot and game design with coding, but also his whole approach to the game. I really like it. He's there'll be multiplayer. Yeah, and we might work on it, but currently we're content with Hot Seat. It's just like the understanding of his audience in making that game.
And also
is so there.
His he is not being swayed from his vision so far. He has proven in the past to be very easily swayed from his vision.
By death threat.
From death threats. Which death threats, I mean, nobody wants a death threat. That's awful. Yeah. That's scary.
Especially in the time when he got it, which was a handwritten death threat that you had to put effort into mailing someone.
But it's also really sad. Like, you're really excited for your vision. This is like your baby. And you're like, we're going to do this. And then you have people screaming at you that you're a terrible person and should be killed.
Yeah.
And, like, how much does that hurt? Which is why I really hope that David Mulek continues to be the intermediary between him and the rest of the world, so that he doesn't allow him to be swayed. Because if he wants to put in, like, look, he just wants, like, a pure fantasy world, right?
Yeah.
For Fanstratics. If he wants to put in a topless Negatank in the middle of that fantasy world, I want him to be able to go ahead, like
if he can figure out a reason,
he doesn't even need a reason. He's earned it. He never got to put it in Heroes of Might and Magic 3. He's earned it. He can just chuck it in. And I want him to not feel afraid to do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And because when this man makes games, he it's beautiful. And the only thing that was gained by scaring him off of Design Forever was that 4, 5, 6, and 7 aren't as good as 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And also, number 3 is missing a faction.
Yeah.
Like, number 3 was going to have 9 factions, and it only has 8.
Yeah.
Like, is that... Yay. What did you gain? Like, even if Forge was put into the game, and you didn't like
have
Forge,
to play it.
Just don't play Forge. Don't let the AI play Forge.
Yeah.
Like, everything in the game is
Don't buy it. It's a DLC. Don't buy it. It won't show up in your game.
Everything in the game is based on which factions are playing. So, like, you won't have the terrain. You won't have the creature... Like, well, you will have the creatures in the wild, but
again, don't buy the game.
DLC. Don't buy the DLC. Or, like, I don't know. I really don't think it's that... Like, the DLC came out all the same. It just didn't have the Forge in it. Like, you only lost something. And then you got Heroes 4, which was, like, the AI designer of number 3 doing his best to make a Heroes 3 game because they didn't have the genius that is whatever his name is who made Heroes 3.
And then another guy quit along the way because he quit.
Yeah. Like, and then Heroes 5... They gave to like a sweatshop basically.
Yeah.
Like they just, it's not a sweatshop, but they gave it to like a minor subcontracted studio, and they're like, make it. Fortunately, this studio was in Eastern Europe, so they knew what they were doing.
It's just they had no time, and they were told to restart from the beginning.
Yeah, they're like, okay, we're gonna do some cool like 2D art, and they're like, no, 3D. 3D's where it's at, and so they made this ugly looking game with tons of.
They were apparently they were several months in when they were told to like scrap all their art.
Yeah, and then number 6 was the start of the Spider period.
Yeah,
and it also was only online. And then number 7 was actually like the team that made it
were fans of the game.
I don't know, like they didn't seem like they were very good at what they like at coding, but they seemed passionate, like they seemed into it, and they were making a game that was good. Like it wasn't a Heroes 3, but it could have been a Heroes 5.
Yeah.
Like something that was unique, had some good ideas, had some tactical depth.
Yeah.
And like it released in an awful state.
Yeah.
Like it needed another 2 months to get to the point where they could release it in early access.
One guy working on it said we had no money and no time.
And so this is the state that they released it in. When people were playing, like I played it, and I noticed that the AI's turns took several minutes. Minutes, literal minutes. It was horrible. It turned out that the AI was watching all the cutscenes from whenever it went to a place. Like there would be a little animation when a thing opened up, and there'd be a little like dragon, like rah or something before. People don't even watch these things.
Yeah.
But the AIs would very politely sit down and watch the the little videos at everything they picked up, and so they were taking forever to do their turn. They released an update that fixed that, and the AI turns were like 1/10 the length. And that was before they improved their decision making and the speed of decision making and optimized stuff. The game looked terrible when they released it. Like you couldn't tell anything apart.
You couldn't see the map. It was all green.
They released an update that increased saturation.
Yeah.
And it looked really good. The game had a lot of bugs, would crash a lot on the menu. and it was missing a lot of stuff. Didn't have any like town screens or anything. And so you're like, okay, well, they have made really good improvements every month. Like the game should have released with these improvements, like should have been delayed a couple months, but at least they're doing it. And then they released a DLC and then stopped development.
And then they started development of Arrows of Chaos because they decided mobile games is where it's at and they wanted the money from the Chinese market.
And Ubisoft, like, their communication was awful. Their communications, like, community managers were terrible. They didn't reply to stuff. They banned people left and right.
Yeah.
They didn't answer questions they didn't like. They kept moving where the conversation was. There was a dedicated website to Hero 7. Then they shut down the comments on that. Then the Ubisoft forums, they shut down the comments on that.
And that led to, what is it, wanting the organs of Uplay to be sold to fund the game. The organs of the directors at Uplay to be sold to help fund Hero 7 because the Heroes community gets mad.
Yeah. Now, the Heroes community, I don't think they're, there's a lot of, well, they're called, like, toxic, I guess, communities out there. I don't think Heroes 3 is one.
Yeah.
I think instead they are... Like, this is what toxicity tends to derive from, is passion.
Yeah.
But in Heroes 3 case, I think there is a lot more passion than hate.
Yeah.
But when you have such poor communication, that passion might turn into hate. Like, there was... And also...
Some things are deserving of hate.
Yeah, like, number 7 was just a disaster. But Fanstratics... Now, the thing he's taken on, which is kind of... something I wouldn't wish on anyone, is that he has to please Heroes of Might and Magic 3 fans.
He has to do more than that. He has to please Horn of the Abyss fans.
Yeah, which is... Horn of the Abyss is a miracle in and of itself. Yeah. Because Heroes of Might and Magic 3, I think I would... If I had to make a list, it would go, like, Tetris, Heroes of Might and Magic 3 for, like, most perfect games ever. Something like that. And I'm not even sure about that order. Like this is... Heroes of Might and Magic 3 isn't even my favorite game. But just objectively, the best games ever made are like Tetris and Heroes of Might and Magic 3, I think.
Yeah. Well, Toll Biscuit called it the best strategy game ever.
Yeah. And, and he knew a lot about games.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think of another game that is so, like... flawless, and like Age of Empires has a lot of going on. Actually, Age of Empires, like,
I think it's pretty up there in design.
Age of Empires kind of has cheated with like 15 years of development, but
it survived. It got to 15 years because the initial Age of Kings and whatever the other thing was called were good.
Age of Conquerors. Forgotten Empires.
Yeah, Forgotten Empires. Those are good. That's why it lasted that long. That's why Microsoft decided to reinvest into it. Is because it survived the test of time and was still played and growing.
Splunky. Splunky would be in that list. That game is so well made.
Factorio.
Factorio might join those ranks someday. We'll see where it goes. And I haven't played enough of Factorio to fully appreciate. I think there's a lot of games that are... There's not like a huge list, but there's a decent amount. Yeah. Tony Hawk, that game is basically perfect.
Yeah. For what the game sets out to do, it does it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get to skateboard without the risk of skinning your knees or getting a concussion.
Given that there is probably 100,000 or several 100,000 games out there, the list of like perfect games is pretty small.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of Pac-Man, right?
Yeah.
I might put it in that list, but that's debatable. I'm not sure. Because one thing is how these games age. Like something like Ocarina of Time was amazing at the time, and it innovated hugely in a lot of areas. But I don't think
Breath of the Wild is definitively a funner game in my opinion.
I don't think Ocarina of Time holds up today.
Yeah.
I don't think it has any aspect that it is the best at today. Like it. Yeah. So, like Legend of Zelda, the original, is still amazing at exploration.
Yeah.
But Ocarina of Time
has one of the best music.
Yeah, its soundtrack is amazing.
Its soundtrack, but also having to play a musical instrument to have game elements happen, I think is actually very good.
So Ocarina of Time's soundtrack is amazing. and it has a lot of stuff going for it, but it is flawed in a lot of dimensions. Like graphically, it's limited.
Controller interaction.
The world is small. It's fairly empty.
Yeah.
The controls are fairly like you can't jump in a 3D game. It feels weird. And like if you see a mountain, you have to like walk around it, and you can't climb it.
You have to do one of the hardest damn mini games ever to get a Poma. No,
it's not that bad.
It is.
You just have to ride in front of his horse.
I did that, and then the stupid controller that you require 3 arms and 2 extra thumbs to use pops out of your thumb because that joystick is so poorly in place, and then he gets ahead of you.
So yeah, there's to be on this list of like sort of technical perfection, like it takes a lot. But Pac-Man, I think its graphics still hold up because they're so simplistic. Mm-hmm. Now, what I didn't know about Pac-Man, what I just wanted to bring up is, did you know that each of the ghosts has a different AI?
No.
So the red ghost will always hunt down Pac-Man.
Yeah.
He's takes the shortest path to Pac-Man. The pink ghost takes the shortest path to where Pac-Man is going. So if Pac-Man is like going here, it's like it looks like 7 spaces ahead or something, and it's like I will head towards that point. So they basically do a pincer maneuver on you. Yeah. The blue ghost draws a line from the red ghost to Pac-Man, a straight line, and then extends it 3 spaces and tries to move to that point. So it's constantly like moving on the outer edge of Pac-Man. Basically, is the end result of what it looks like. The orange ghost. Moves like the red ghost directly towards Pac-Man. Yeah. But if he gets within 7 spaces of Pac-Man, he runs away.
Really?
Yeah. And every once in a while, all the ghosts will go into flee mode, where they will go, each of them will go to a different corner of the map.
Yeah.
And then they will go back to chasing down Pac-Man.
So can the orange ghost ever hit Pac-Man?
I think if Pac-Man ran into him, because like he might trap the orange ghost and like...
Oh yeah, Pac-Man's faster than the ghost as well.
Yeah, I think so. Their speed changes from level to level, dependent. Like their AI changes like the red ghost gets faster and faster every level. I think. I don't know what the others do, but yeah, it was kind of interesting that they all have different AIs, and it's what makes them seem so intelligent in a lot of ways.
So speaking of video games, though, I saw this interesting thing where this guy was talking about movie industries, and he's like, yeah, that movie was a flop. And then he's talking about video games. I can't remember what the context was, but the amount of money video games make is absurd.
Yeah.
Like
good high-selling video games.
But like the industries comparatively.
Well, yeah. Although like it is, I think you can compare them.
Yeah.
Like you look at Mulan. I think they spent $200 to $400 million on Mulan or something.
Yeah,
that's probably one of the biggest movies out there, like of the year. They didn't make it back, but I assume they thought they would make it back. Yeah. So you're looking at a range of like up to $1 billion that Disney is hoping to make from their movies, which I think is probably on the high end.
Yeah.
And I think Skyrim made like 2 point something billion.
Yeah.
So. And Skyrim is one of the best-selling games of all time.
Yeah.
So I think they are comparable.
Yeah. It's just insane that, I mean, it's also changing, but just culturally how, like, video games are sort of relegated mentally to, like, this...
Yeah.
This space. I don't know what to call space, but they're relegated to a space. But culturally, capitalistically, I guess?
Yeah, video games make way more. Like, video games are bigger. They're not, like, way bigger, but they're bigger.
But, like, even that thing you talked about, like,
individually.
A competition between video games, like movies, people can watch multiple movies. But let's say you're like, all right, I want to watch this movie, I want to watch this movie. Oh, there's theater at the same time. Okay, I'll go to this one. It's expensive. I don't want to go to theater twice in a week. It's like there's competing, like, opening weekends and, like, also, like, oh, which movie do I want to own in home theater sort of thing form. A video game, you're just going to buy both of them.
Yeah. Well, I don't think movies have too much of that issue either, actually.
Yeah, but still, it's just a thing like competition wise, though. Like video games, you'll buy them.
Well, video games give you so much more value per dollar spent. Mm-hmm. Like, you get so much more time per dollar spent for a video game.
Yeah.
But, I think that, like, video game to video game by video game, movie by movie, they're probably comparable.
Until you put in mobile games in Wales.
Well, yeah, when you put in mobile games, then that's a lot more. But
like, Dota even makes like the TI right now.
Yeah,
a fourth of the money goes to the prize pool, and the current prize pool is almost $40 million.
Yeah, so Dota's making good money.
Yeah,
but
and CS:GO, I think, and League of Legends make more money than that possibly.
So you're looking game to game, movie to movie. I think they're probably comparable though.
Yeah,
but there's a lot more video games than movies.
Yeah,
and video games. I think the return on video games is a lot bigger because I don't think they take nearly as much to develop. Like most of the time, not always.
Also, I mean, people seem to keep coming back to Assassin's Creed. So,
but what do you mean?
Oh, shit. I've heard a lot of people think that Assassin's Creed like quality has dropped, or like just talking about like Assassin's Creed. What was the other one? Call of Duty. Like it's basically the games keep getting made again, but slightly worse. And they like come out every year, and people still buy them. It seems.
It's not like movies are different.
I guess
people keep watching Hollywood, and people keep watching Disney, and a lot of Disney movies people agree are bad, and a lot of superhero movies people agree are bad, and a lot of Hollywood movies are just remakes.
Yeah.
Like the bigger a company is, a lot of the time, it seems, the less likely they are to take risks. Google is an exception to that, which I find respectable.
I've lost a great amount of favor with Google.
Well, Google does a lot of other things I don't like, but I do like the fact that they're willing to take risks.
Orcs Must Die 3 is a Stadia exclusive.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I haven't beaten number 2 yet, so that's fine.
Yeah.
No, well, I think like Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony. Actually, I'm going to take Microsoft out of that list. But Nintendo and Sony, they are huge on exclusives as well.
Yeah.
This next generation is interesting though, because
everyone's playing stuff on the Switch.
Sony they still have a couple exclusives.
Yeah.
But a lot of their console exclusives are coming out on PC.
Yeah.
And Microsoft, I don't think, is doing any console exclusives. They're doing some console exclusives, but they have nothing that isn't coming out on PC.
Yeah, well, more and more people are owning PCs, and I think that's just a thing. And a lot of gamers are moving to PC.
Well, I think Microsoft especially is also pushing really hard for consumer friendliness, which I really like. Well, I don't know if Microsoft is, but Phil Spencer is. Xbox is, which I really like.
No, Microsoft is trying to make themselves better, I think.
Well, they had a really bad reputation problem for a while, so I think they've been trying to improve that for a while.
Yeah.
And
well, that's why Windows 10, I mean, it has a lot of problems, but the overall goal was to make it better than Windows 8.
Yeah, that's a... We made Heroes 6 so we could make a game that was better than it. It's like it's not a high bar.
Yeah, but I mean, they were trying to make Windows a usable platform.
Yeah. A huge thing that Xbox has been doing is they made the Xbox One really cheap, and they fixed them all, and they took a huge loss on that. The Xbox Game Pass is amazing.
Yeah.
It has all their games that are coming out.
Super huge value.
It's $15 a month for all the top games.
Yeah.
And there's a couple hundred, I think, at this point. And not small, you get Halo, and you get
Outer Worlds.
you get everything that Bethesda's gonna make, you get everything that Obsidian's gonna make, you get everything Microsoft's gonna make. You're getting big games.
Yeah.
Not only that, you get xCloud, which means you can play these big games on anything. You can play them on your phone, you can play them on your computer, you can play them on your Xbox. You get free upgrades for everything. It's totally backwards compatible. Yeah. And if the game is better, if they make a graphically better version of the game from the first one from the Xbox One to this Xbox Series X, you get an upgrade for free.
Yeah, this message proudly sponsored by Xbox.
No, I'm just really impressed with what Xbox is doing. And
although we're not getting paid for the sponsorship, we're not getting anything out of it.
That it's not a sponsorship.
No.
I wish that Nintendo was as consumer friendly as they are the least consumer friendly company out there, I think.
It's surprising that they even let Smash on YouTube.
They didn't before.
Really?
Yeah, like they used to shut down people for showing Nintendo stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, well, I know like Legend of Zelda you couldn't show at all.
Yeah, and Smash you couldn't.
Like, what's his face? Martin in the Littlewood?
Yeah.
Was actually really weird for a while because he would play Legend of Zelda and you could watch it.
Because you had a partnership.
Yeah, he had a partnership.
Yeah, but their partnership was ridiculous. It was like they take 40% or something.
Yeah.
Like, Nintendo is just such a consumer unfriendly company. And it sucks because the only reason Nintendo is around, like, I don't know how EA is around, right?
Yeah.
Because their games aren't good and they're like super unfriendly to their consumers.
Yeah.
But Nintendo, in some ways, might even be more unfriendly than EA, like consumer friendly. But, at least they're not putting gambling in their games, I guess.
Yeah.
But they just make such amazing games that they're allowed to stay.
And they make the best console.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the Switch is, it is actually it is actually
the best console.
Yeah, because like the Xbox and PlayStation, you can get a computer that can do what they can do. It might be more expensive and might not be as optimized, but you can get something that can do what they can do.
Can't you shove an Xbox in your pocket and carry it around?
Yeah, it's a lot harder to... You can, like, with a lot of work, do something like the Switch, but it's a lot harder.
Well, there was the portable PlayStation for a while.
Yeah, the PlayStation Vita and the PlayStation... and the PSP. And but this... Yeah, the Switch, I think, is a brilliant idea. Mm-hmm. And...
you know how you, like, go around in airports, right?
Yeah.
And, like, you see they used to have plugs in the walls, and they started, like, putting in the USB ports.
Yeah.
Just, like, give it, like, 2 or 3 years. You want to walk around, and there's going to be a Switch charging ports. There's going to be no switches in them, though. Because if anyone puts them down and then leaves, the Switch is gone.
Yeah.
But they will have
stolen outright.
They will have Switch charging ports just everywhere.
Yeah, Nintendo just hates fan games. They hate emulators. It's a shame.
Yeah.
And they also do really weird things, like the timed exclusives they're doing with Mario right now. It's such a bad idea.
Timed exclusives?
Yeah, like their Mario 3D All-Stars. They're stopping selling it in March. You can't buy it anymore.
See, time exclusive on something digital.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like Age of Empires 2
when they
are talking about, like, they have their exclusive skins.
Yeah.
But their marketing team apparently has been trying to figure out how to give people the cheat codes that you can unlock and, like, all that stuff. Like, they're actually trying to figure out how to get those things to people still.
Yeah, I think just release it like a month later or something would be the way to do it.
Yeah.
The Nintendo timed exclusives. Right. When they put Pikmin 3 remastered onto the Switch, they took it off the Wii U store.
Oh.
When they put Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze onto the Switch, they took it off the Wii U store.
Oh, okay.
They're constantly removing stuff to force you to buy it on the more expensive version on the Switch. They do a lot of stuff I really don't like. But they made Breath of the Wild, and of the Wild. Okay, whenever I watch, like, I've been watching a lot of game design videos, like a lot of what's his name, the Game Maker's Toolkit and stuff. Yeah. And I find it hard to watch a video that is more than 3 years old by any game designer, because so many of their points have been invalidated by Breath of the Wild that, like, it's amazing.
Back to your thing though about, like, their marketing practice. So there's a thing to understand with a lot of these big game companies. This is an excuse, but their marketing team and their game design team are two different people. That was seen in that showcase where the marketing team showed, hey, check out all these things can do. And then the people actually make the game were like, we removed those features.
Did you know that Brawl was announced before Sakurai was asked to make it?
Yeah.
They said Brawl is coming out next year before Sakurai had been told that he had to make it. Oh. Like, they announced it at E3 before they started working on it.
Marketing teams are very different than game making teams. Yeah. They have a very different approach to things. And from what I've read, a lot of studios hate marketing teams.
Well, who made...
For the big companies. Like, one of the best examples of this is Anthem. Yeah. So Anthem had, like, this crazy marketing thing. So you look at the story of Anthem, and it was a game that was going to be made a long time ago by, like, I think 3 guys. Yeah. And they basically pitched this idea, and they started working on it, and then they like got the money to work on it, and they kept working on it, and their team got bigger and bigger, and they had these ideas. And then the marketing team said to the executives, hey, we've looked at games for them to be good and popular, and for us to make a lot of money, we need to have this, and this in it. Also has to be available on these things. The Anthem team wanted to make it for PC. That because that's just what they knew how to do. And like, okay, fine, we'll try to port it to these other things, and okay, we'll put those features in, we're not certain. And then they're told, alright, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Or like, okay, fine, whatever, you gave us a lot of money, we'll get rid of those things. And then, like, their original vision, like, they barely marketed it, but people thought, oh, that's a cool idea. And then, like, the marketing team released their whole thing with, like, the big animation. People were like, oh, this looks so cool, it has to be exactly like this. And the team that's working on it are hiring more and more people, but they're like, okay, the amount of time you've given us, we can't make this game. And the marketing teams keep saying to the execs, oh, it needs this, and it has to come out this time because we say it'll come out, and if we delay it anymore, we'll get in trouble. And they're like, all right, you guys do that. And then the team failed to deliver the game because it's not the game they started with. And the executives are like, oh, this game failed. Well, it's their fault for destroying this the studio.
Yeah, shut down BioWare.
It's shut down BioWare. And like a large amount of the problem was the marketing team.
Yeah,
like a huge amount was the marketing team.
There's this problem with the relationship between publishers and developers, where if developers want to make their game as best as possible, but if there is going to be no difference in the amount of people that buy your game at a certain point of working on it, like you're 90% done the game, the same number of people are going to buy it whether you spend time going to 100% or you stay at 90%.
Yeah.
Then there's no reason not to publish the game from a monetary perspective.
Yeah.
Except for, of course, the goodwill that your company will have.
Yeah.
Because that only works for so long.
Yeah.
Until people, like if people say, wow, this person releases great game after great game after great game, then you're going to build an audience. Whereas if you do the short-sighted thing that EA seems to do, then that's got to hurt them eventually. I don't know why it hasn't already.
Yeah.
Like they're
no, it is hurting them.
Their shareholders are telling them to stop.
It is hurting them. If you actually look at it, they're not getting as making as bought as they used to. It's
like there's people petitioning the NFL to stop giving their license to EA. Like that's how upset people are.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. What was another example of a company? Was this EA as well? Who does Shadow of War?
That is Sony, isn't it? Because it's
I don't think it's Sony.
Who does Warner Brothers?
Warner Brothers is EA, I think.
Okay, then Shadow of War was EA.
Yeah. The lead developer died, and they put a tribute for him in the game. And whoever publishes it made it something that cost money to buy.
Yeah.
And they took a percentage of that money.
Yeah, because they said it's going to go to his family, but then they took...
see, that's what they switched to.
Yeah.
Now what happened after the massive fallout of like, oh, this guy died and now you're making money off of his death.
Yeah.
What they changed it to now is it's still paid DLC, I believe. They might have rolled it into the game.
It's rolled into the game now.
But they made it paid DLC, or I think they turned it to free, but every dollar they made from that, they gave $2 to the guy's family.
Yeah.
So they turned it around. But the fact that they tried, like EA, they put ads in their latest wrestling game. Like they just interrupt the game with ads straight up in your face.
Yeah. I've bought the game. I don't want ads. I've paid money for it.
And they know that people aren't going to accept this.
Yeah.
Just like they knew people wouldn't accept microtransactions.
Yeah.
They just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. They're like, what they do is they go crazy. They're like, we're going to do this absolutely horrible thing. And then people are like, that's horrible. And they're like, oh, we're sorry. And they take 2 steps forward and they take 1 step back.
Yeah. And then people praise them for taking steps back.
And they 1 step back though. They slowly push it forward so that they're gonna find a way to put ads in games. They're already increasing the price of games. They want to raise them from $60 to $70.
That is not going to go well for them.
They're already doing it. They're testing ads. They've got microtransactions. They've got gambling in their games.
Yeah.
They put a gambling ad in a children's magazine for their soccer game for FIFA.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, we're sorry. We didn't mean to do that." None of the other.
Where is it? Is it Australia or Norway? Sweden? Which country is suing them?
A lot of countries are.
Yeah, but I feel like
in the UK, one of the princes or lords is looking into EA. They're doing a huge investigation of them for selling gambling to children.
Yeah, I just feel like the selling gambling to children, like one country should just like take the pants off them, basically, like lambast them for that, like take as much money as they can within their system.
Yeah, but EA, they just keep taking these hits and they keep growing and pushing and growing. And Activision, they released Warhammer Reforged, which was a mess. And
what's Warhammer Reforged?
Sorry, Warcraft 3 Reforged. And
I was like, the new Warhammer Old World isn't out yet.
That said, that's still kind of better than Nintendo's version of their remasters. So it's yeah.
No, Warhammer actually. Games Workshop, is that the company?
Yeah.
They're actually really trying to push as well to get back into clout, and they're having.
They're bringing back the old world,
but they're having stupid amounts of difficulty with trying to get into people's good graces, because they had this huge fiasco with trying to sell Sisters of Battle, and it was like a new box set and new books, like new codexes, and they're selling them online, and their site crashed, and then like people are in the store trying to buy as fast as they could, but they all got bought, and then a bunch of people started selling them on eBay for like gouged prices, and they try to implement system which is like you're only allowed to buy one of them, and it still happens because people like make multiple accounts, but like for ages people are saying, oh, Games Workshop's just sitting back and like not doing anything, and then they've tried to like start releasing stuff again, making things, and there's this other complaint, which is they've increased the prices of all their miniatures. That really upset people. And there's this one reviewer I saw, which is like, this is why they increased the prices. And he took out an old model and a new model, and he pressed his fingers onto the heads of both models, and the old model snapped. And the new one, he's like, they're using better plastic, and it's just more expensive.
But I don't know. Were they already overpriced though? Like
yeah, they were, but
I don't know if they were or not. But it seems like it.
Yeah,
but maybe they weren't.
But there used to be a thing in the old books which a lot of people are upset, which was removed, which is like they would give tips on how to make terrain, and it's like if you're missing models, you can go buy these things from your local dollar store, which will substitute, or if you want a unique monster, use this thing. Like they actually in their old books used to have recommendations of how to like play the game for cheap.
Yeah. And
they got rid of that.
Yeah, well, they're not a war game company, they're a toy company.
Yeah.
So they don't want to get rid of stuff that gets rid of their toys. Yeah. But yeah, consumer friendliness, I think it is a marketing strategy that has great long-term benefits. Like you look at CD Projekt Red, and they're the biggest company in Europe now, I believe. Like a biggest video game company in Europe or something.
Although they did pull that thing of breaking their promise with the
the crunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't affect the consumer. That's their own employees. Sucks to work for them, but as long as we're happy. Yeah, no, that's bad. I
think it's just because they might need another delay.
Wasn't this game supposed to come out in April? Like
this game was supposed to come out 4 years ago.
Well, yeah, I think they should just delay it again. Like,
what was the game's original name?
Cyberpunk 2020.
Yeah.
It's been 57 years.
No, but it was like originally marketed in like 2012. I think we talked about this before, but
yeah,
they might just need to like delay.
Yeah.
Again.
And like, yeah, come on, don't hurt your employees that have. Like, you're known for being so nice to the customer. Don't ruin it. Like, even if you miss Christmas, Animal Crossing is doing ridiculously well, and it's sold in March.
Your employees' blood, sweat, and tears are in that game. You don't need their souls in it.
Yeah, like, Animal Crossing was supposed to come out in December, I think.
Yeah.
And they're like, sorry, we have to delay it till March. And now it's like...
Metroid Prime was meant to come out this year, and meant to have details on it last year. We still don't know anything about the game.
But, it's like, was it Miyamoto who said a game that is delayed is eventually good.
Yeah.
A game that is rushed is never good. Like,
yeah.
Just give yourself more time. Like maybe CD Projekt needs more money or something. But I think GOG's been doing quite well, I imagine, over this time as well. Like that should help them. And The Witcher is like bigger than ever this year, I believe.
Yeah.
So like they shouldn't be hurting for money. Just take your time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up there because I'm very hungry.
Yeah.
And yeah, I will just